Hello and welcome. You're watching WION The World One. My name is Him Korsara and here's a look at all the top stories that we're tracking for you right now. An explosion was seen early this morning on the Gazan side of the Israel-Gaza border, and multiple blasts were seen the night before. As Gaza Civil Defense Agency says, Israeli military strikes killed at least 120 people in the Gaza Strip. Amid the ongoing war between Russia and Ukraine, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio said that a ceasefire between Moscow and Kyiv could only be achieved through direct talks between Trump and Putin. Speaking to reporters, Rubio said that there is not going to be a breakthrough until U.S. President Donald Trump has a face-to-face meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin. The Secretary of State also said that he does not have high expectations for Russia and Ukraine peace talks that are set to take place in Turkey. Gazans in the Al-Maghazi refugee camp have reported receiving mysterious messages inviting them to exit interviews via the Israeli-controlled Netzarim corridor. Residents say that they are skeptical about the intentions behind these messages, with many questioning the legitimacy and the safety of the process as well. Members of the Ukrainian community in Toronto held a solemn walk to honor the children who've died in the war with Russia. The event was organized as part of the Vyshyvanka Day, an annual celebration of Ukrainian culture and heritage. Hundreds of participants, many wearing Vyshyvankas, that's a traditional embroidered Ukrainian shirt, marched through the city carrying national flags and banners shaped like the Crimean Peninsula. The walk concluded at Toronto's High Park, where the community gathered to listen to traditional music and observe a moment of silence in memory of the war's youngest victims. Venezuelan opposition leader Maria Corina Machado has called for a boycott of May 25 legislative elections, vowing that polling stations would be empty 10 months after President Nicolas Maduro's disputed re-election. Machado claims the elections are a huge farce aimed at burying the opposition's victory in the July 28 presidential poll, which she believes was stolen by Maduro.
Para saber sus impresiones de lo que va en el
South Korea and the United States are set to hold crucial trade talks on the sidelines of the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation meeting, with Seoul hoping for significant progress to avoid steep tariffs imposed by U.S. President Donald Trump. The talks, which will be attended by U.S. Trade Representative Jameson Greer and South Korean Minister of Trade and Industry Ahn Dok-yeon, aims to address concerns over the global trading system after Trump's administration imposed a 25% tariff on steel and aluminum, as well as a 10% universal tariff on most U.S. trading partners, including South Korea. Relatives and friends gathered to bid a final farewell to Valeria Marquez, a Mexican beauty entrepreneur and influencer who was fatally shot while live streaming on TikTok earlier in the week. The 23-year-old's family held a funeral mass at St. Bernard Parish, central Mexico, as authorities continued to investigate the killing. Officials said Marquez's death is being investigated as a possible homicide, the killing of a woman because of her gender. The brazen attack has sparked outrage across the country, already grappling with high levels of violence against women. Colombian police have released a video showing the arrest of Miguel Rodriguez Diaz alias Cuchillo in Colombia. The accused was arrested for his alleged role in the kidnapping and murder of 13 workers at a Peruvian gold mine. The arrest was made possible through a joint operation between Peruvian and Colombian authorities with support from Interpol and the U.S. agencies. Peruvian President Dina Boluarte accused Rodriguez of ordering the execution, which occurred at a mine in Patas, a region that's plagued by escalating violence. The massacre has sparked widespread outrage, highlighting the growing influence of organized crime in Peru's mining industry.
Yo la espalda, Gina. Gina.
Guatemalan authorities searched the compound of an ultra-orthodox Jewish sect, taking 4 Canadian minors into protective custody after reports of abuse. According to authorities, public prosecutor Carlos Figueroa claimed that authorities also found suspected bones of 1 child buried at the compound, adding that foreign nationals were detained in the operation. Last December, authorities took at least 160 minors and 40 women into protective custody after searching the compound following abuse reports. The sect has run into legal problems in various countries. In 2022, Mexican authorities arrested a leader of the sect near the Guatemalan border. In 2024, senior leaders of the group were sentenced to 14 and 12 years in prison for kidnapping and sex trafficking crimes in New York. Spain's airport authority will limit access to Madrid's airport during parts of the day to stop more homeless people sleeping in its terminals. Airport authorities said that only travelers with boarding passes, airport employees and those accompanying passengers with tickets will be allowed inside during hours, with few departing and arriving flights. It said limits would start to be implemented over the next few days, but did not specify exactly when or during what hours of the day. For months, the Spanish capital's airport has been dealing with homeless encampments in some of its terminals. The Indian Coast Guard successfully rescued 6 crew members of cargo vessel MSV Salamat, which sank approximately 130 kilometers southwest of Mangalore, Karnataka. According to the ICG, they received a distress alert from the MT Epic Sasui, a transiting vessel, reporting the sighting of a small boat adrift with 6 survivors on board on Wednesday. Indian Coast Guard ship Vikram, which was on routine patrol in the area, was immediately diverted to the location. The Coast Guard team swiftly located and safely recovered all 6 survivors from the dinghy. Preliminary reports indicate that MSV Salmat, which departed Mangalore port on the 12th of May, was en route Kadmat Island in Lakshadweep when it capsized midway. Two mountaineers, Subrata Ghosh from India and Philip to Santiago from the Philippines, have died on Mount Everest during the current climbing season. Ghosh died below the Hillary Step while descending after reaching the summit, while Santiago died at the South Col while ascending, reportedly due to exhaustion. Both climbers were part of an international expedition. Nepal has issued 459 permits for the season, with nearly 100 climbers reaching the summit. Efforts are underway to bring their body down to the base camp for a post-mortem to determine the cause of death. In the aftermath of a temporary agreement that ended hostilities between India and Pakistan following Operation Sindoor, Pakistan Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif has said that he is ready to engage in peace talks with India. Following Pakistan Prime Minister's statement, India's External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar said that the talks will only focus on terrorism. He also added that New Delhi was open to talks only if Islamabad destroyed the terrorism infrastructure in their country. He also added that the Indus Waters Treaty will be held in abeyance until cross-border terrorism is irrevocably stopped. A massive dark stain was observed off the coast of Rio de Janeiro near Barra da Tijuca beach, sparking concern among researchers, residents and beachgoers about its possible effects. The stain appeared on the beach in western Rio. Drone shots show the water as brownish, contrasting with the ocean's blue. According to Brazilian outlet Globo, the darkened water originated from the Barra and the lagoon complex. The Environment State Institute said that the phenomenon was caused by an ebb tide which brought organic matter from the lagoon waters. According to the report, due to the difference in temperature between these waters, the sea, the color of the water changed. A tornado swept through Mayville, Wisconsin, bringing significant damage and impacting southwestern parts of the state. An eyewitness captured the moment when a tornado swept through a Wisconsin suburb as authorities released tornado warnings in several areas within the U.S. state. A tornado watch was issued for the majority of Wisconsin, with southwestern parts of the state already impacted, according to the National Weather Service. The dollar fell in tandem with U.S. Treasury yields after downside surprises on U.S. economic data this week cemented bets of more Federal Reserve rate cuts this year. The week started out with a mix of market tailwinds headlined by U.S.-China trade truce propelled the dollar higher, though the euphoria soon fizzled out and left currencies trading sideways. Most of the action in the foreign exchange market came from the dollar's moves against the South Korean won, where it fell sharply for 2 straight days on news that Washington and Seoul discussed the dollar-won market earlier this month. Oil prices held steady, heading for a second consecutive weekly gain due to easing U.S.-China trade tensions, though potential return of Iranian supply limited price gains. Brent crude futures dipped 1 cent to $64.52 a barrel by 3:26 a.m. GMT. U.S. crude oil futures traded above $61. Both contracts fell more than 2% in the previous session, following a sell-off due to the rising prospects of an Iranian nuclear deal. Analysts at BMI maintained their forecast for Brent to average $68 a barrel in 2025 and $71 per barrel in 2026. Crypto exchange Coinbase forecast to hit $180 million to $400 million from a cyber attack that breached account data of a small subset of its customers. The company received an email from an unknown threat actor on the 11th of May, claiming to have information about certain customer accounts as well as internal documents. Coinbase said that while some data, including names, addresses, and emails, was stolen, the hackers did not get access to login credentials or passwords. But it did clarify that it would reimburse customers who were tricked into sending funds to the attackers. Coinbase shared extended losses after the report and were last down 6.5%. Japan's economy shrank for the first time in a year, underscoring the fragile nature of its recovery now under threat from U.S. President Donald Trump's trade policies. The data highlights the challenge policymakers face as steep U.S. tariffs could cloud the outlook for the export-heavy economy, particularly for the mainstay automobile sector. Real GDP contracted an annualized 0.7% in the January to March quarter. The decline was due to stagnant private consumption and falling exports, suggesting the economy was losing support from overseas demand even before Trump's announcement on the 2nd of April of sweeping reciprocal tariffs. The rapid de-escalation in the US-China trade war after the Geneva talks last weekend has helped Beijing avoid a nighttime scenario. Mass job losses that could have endangered social stability, what the ruling Communist Party sees as its topmost priority. But this year, US tariff hikes of 145% left lasting economic damage. And even after the Geneva talks remain high enough to continue to hurt the job market and slow Chinese growth, according to experts before the meeting in Switzerland. Beijing had grown increasingly alarmed about the internal signals that Chinese firms are struggling to avoid bankruptcies, including in labor-intensive industries such as furniture and toys. Barcelona crowned the champions of Spain. The Catalan Giants clinched their 20th La Liga title with a 2-0 win at rivals Espanyol. The victory confirms a clean sweep of domestic trophies and caps off a stellar first season under Hansi Flick. Lamine Yamal opened the scoring in the second half before setting up Fermin Lopez for the second in the stoppage time. It was the perfect culmination to Barcelona's 10-month quest for dominance. Interestingly, they've now been confirmed as champions at Espanyol's ground more times than at home in the 21st century. Barcelona completed a domestic treble in Hansi Flick's debut season. The Catalan Giants defeated arch rivals Real Madrid in the finals of both the Copa del Rey and the Spanish Super Cup and won all 4 El Clasico this season. The only slight blemish on an otherwise brilliant campaign was their heartbreaking exit in the Champions League semi-finals, falling just short against Inter Milan. U.S. singer Bruce Springsteen called out Donald Trump administration during the first concert of his European tour in Manchester. Springsteen said people were being persecuted for using their right to free speech and voicing their dissent. Last year, Springsteen appeared at a Democratic campaign rally in Philadelphia alongside former President Barack Obama in support of the party's presidential candidate, Kamala Harris. He has been an outspoken supporter of Democratic politics. In a new twist, Justin Baldoni's lawyers have made fresh allegations against Blake Lively. According to court documents, Baldoni's team claims Lively threatened her close friend, pop star Taylor Swift, if Swift did not publicly support her during her legal dispute with the co-star. Lively's attorney has strongly denied the claims, calling them false. Her legal team also filed a motion to strike the allegations from the record, describing them as baseless, unnecessary, improper, and abusive.